Era for the winning TP topic author from Kolkata chapter, Miltonian Sanjay Mansurkani. Come on! God. God is all-pervading energy. Introduction. Who is God? The creator who has created this creation, which is perceived by all of us in one way or the other, is God. Is he present everywhere? I repeat, is the creator present everywhere? The answer to this question is a simple yes. He is all-pervading. He is present everywhere. Is he present as all-pervading energy? The answer to this question also is a simple yes. He is present everywhere as energy. Can I support these statements with proof, scientific proof? Yes. The statements will be supported here below with absolute scientific proof, drawing on the knowledge we possess of school level physics and mathematics. The additional beauty of this technical paper is that it will draw on the spiritual knowledge of the East as enunciated in the Vedas and Guru Granth Sahib, and using the same common scientific knowledge as well as school level physics and mathematics to reach the same conclusion that God is all-pervading energy. Visible creation. Our visible creation is full of form. We are in a creation occupying space and time. How do we know that? Our teachers taught us in school. They told us we see in 3 dimensions of space. The dimensions are of length, breadth, and height. Why do we see in 3 dimensions of space? Again, the school teachers told us, since we have 2 eyes slightly spaced from each other, we see in 3 dimensions of space. They told us if we keep one eye closed, we actually see in only 2 dimensions of space. We checked it out and we knew it was true. We were also taught the concept of time. We live in the time, they said, but was it natural time or artificial time? Was that time inside us or outside us? It was an artificially created time. This time was running outside of us. Time created by man to make this creation of ours orderly and systematic. Man devised instruments for measuring both space and time, like the measuring tapes and time clocks. Therefore, our visible creation is one of form and running in artificial time. We call it the space-time creation of form. Space and time are studied in physics. We all know physics is the study of the physical creation in an orderly or systematic manner of all facts pertaining to it. These facts are placed in a logical structured manner using mathematics to easily understand the truths of our physical creation. We will go a bit deeper now to have a better understanding. Mapping matter. This whole creation, therefore, is of 4 dimensions, made of 3 dimensions of space, length, breadth, and height, and 1 dimension of time. This entire creation is made up of matter. Each piece of matter has 3 dimensions of length, breadth, and height. This each piece of matter changes with time, as we all know that no matter is ever permanent. If we plot these 4 dimensions of space and time for the entire matter in the creation on a graph paper, we will have a mapping of each piece of matter on paper in the creation. Matter is energy. Energy is matter in motion, or having the inherent ability to generate motion. Therefore, all forms of energy are associated with motion. Matter in motion is called kinetic energy. Some examples are a speeding car, a revolving planet, or a shooting star. Other form of energy is potential energy, when matter has the internal ability to cause motion. Some examples could be the satellite up above the earth, a dam holding water, a skier at the top of a hill. So the entire creation of matter is connected to a combination of kinetic energy and potential energy. A nuclear bomb lying at a place has only potential energy. If it is being dropped from a plane, it will have both potential and kinetic energies. Energies like heat, chemical, human energy, all fall into the combination of kinetic and potential energies. Why is it so? Because we live in a creation of space and time, where everything moves and everything is placed relative to one another. Therefore, all matter, irrespective of wherever it is placed in the creation, and whether moving or stationary, has energy. The energy could be kinetic or potential or a combination of the two. The graph paper above, where we have a plot of all the matter in the creation, the points where the matter is plotted is actually energy points. All matter is energy. Waves as energy. What about the points in space where there is no matter? Let me tell you that there is no absolute vacuum in space. I will repeat, there is no absolute vacuum in space. All points in space have some matter or subatomic particle or wave. Say for instance, light. Light behaves both as a particle and a wave. Light is actually energy. It is, as per physics, an electromagnetic wave. But it also behaves as a particle called photon. At subatomic levels, we have dual nature of existence. Subatomic particles also behave as waves. Gravity, too, behaves as a wave and occupies the whole creation. There is no empty space in this creation. There is no space which can be called absolute vacuum. Therefore, the mapping of all the matter of the creation on the graph paper has no single point in space-time which has no energy. This whole creation has either matter or subatomic particles or waves, and both have energy. The view of science. This is science view number 1. Therefore, we have proved, taking common scientific knowledge and school-level physics and mathematics, that the whole creation is pervaded with energy. No point in space-time is without energy. God, the creator of the creation, therefore exists in this creation as all-pervading energy. Guru Nanak. Now let us look at God from the perspective of the scriptures from the East. We will see first what the Guru Granth Sahib says about God as experienced by Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak had traveled extensively in India and the Islamic countries of West Asia for nearly 20 years. His understanding of God was that the Creator is a formless one. He called it Nirankar, which means without form, no akar. He also called God as Omkar, having the sound of Om. Om, as per Hindu scriptures, means the creator. who has no form. Immediately after obtaining enlightenment, Nanak wrote the Mool Mantra, which describes God, and the Sikhs recite it religiously to imbibe the true meaning of God. Let us read it with a reverence as it is given below. Ek Onkar, Satnam, Kartar Purakh, Nirbhav, Nirbhay, Akal Murat, Ajuni Saiban, Guru Prasad. Jap, Ad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi bhi Sach. Guru Nanak describes God in this Mool Mantra, and he describes him like this. There is only one God who is formless. Truth is his name. He alone is the doer. He is fearless. He has no enmity towards anyone. He is eternal, beyond time. He is not born of the mother's womb. He is self-existing. All this can only be understood if there is grace of the Guru towards his disciple. Recite, he says, that this has been eternally true, will ever be true, and is true today. Nanak further says this will remain true. Formless point. What does formless mean? It means there is no shape, that the three dimensions of space do not exist. It means God has no length, breadth, and height. Therefore, a regular creation of three dimensions of space is shrunk into one of none. No space dimensions exist for him. He is formless. In mathematics, our school teacher will define it as a point. A point has no length, no breadth, and no height. This was taught to us in geometry. Guru Nanak and science view 2. Now the space-time mapping of the creation done on the graph paper, each point there represents the creator. The creation mapping contains innumerable points to make the whole. This formless creator has potential energy. That is why it is able to create a creation. Therefore, each point in the space-time mapping on the graph paper represents the creator as potential energy. Therefore, energy is all-pervading, and this energy is actually God. Therefore, once again, using the scriptures, we reach the conclusion that God is all-pervading as energy. Purnam Mantra. The Purnam Mantra from the Vedas, also called the peace mantras, are recited at the beginning and end of religious discourses. We will see an interesting relation as expounded by the Vedas, which seems to uncannily match with the Big Bang theory of modern science on the origin of the creation. It will also show how the formless version of God and God existing in space-time are connected. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purna Ata Purnam Udachayate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashashayate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnam in Sanskrit refers to fullness, completeness, or infinity. The verse talks about Om, the formless state of the Creator, and says it will remain unchanged. Meaning, Om, that is infinite, and this creation is infinite. The infinite creation proceeds from the infinite Om. Then taking the infinitude of the creation out of the infinite Om, the Om remains as an infinite alone. Let this Om be in peace, peace, and peace. The Big Bang theory of science regarding the origin of creation points out that there was a Big Bang, and in a split second, temperatures rose to phenomenal levels, and the first stage of this creation appeared. This happened probably about 83 billion years ago. Since then, because of the intensity of the Big Bang, the universe has been expanding and also cooling off with time. It gave rise to the chemical elements first, and then to compounds and large forms of matter. Since that day, creation has been in a state of motion with no matter at rest. We were gifted with a creation which is perceived in space-time by man due to the capabilities of his sense organs and perception abilities. This entire creation is interconnected with one another through micro and macro forces. It is an interdependent creation, and all points in this creation are energized. There definitely was a cause to the creation. Some call it the causeless cause. This causeless cause is also addressed as God, as it is only because of him the creation has come as a result of innumerable effects arising of that causeless cause. Sorry. Science, though advanced, has still not been able to say what caused the Big Bang. What was the origin state before the Big Bang? But surprisingly, the Purna Mantra seems to have an explanation. It says, from this formless state called Om, the formed creation came. The formless state is just a point in space-time, but is infinite. Out of this Om, even when the infinite creation gets formed, it still has infiniteness within. Then the word peace appears in the last line. It says, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Does it mean when the infinite creation comes out of the formless Om, intense heat is created? Is that why the mantra mentions peace, to bring down the heat? The third view, which is a combination of Vedas and science. If God created the creation with a Big Bang, definitely all points in that creation experience the bang. Bang represents energy. Therefore, once again we see, by a mix of scientific theory on the origin of creation and our ancient Vedas, that God is present as energy and is omnipresent in his creation. In conclusion, after looking at God and his creation from multiple viewpoints, scientific and scriptural, new and ancient, using school-level physics and mathematics, we can firmly restate that God is all-pervading as energy. Thank you.
What a big bang! Please, let's give a big round of applause. Can you stand up for him, please? He deserves a standing ovation. Please, come on! What an excellent paper! Woo! Great. To repeat again, this was an excellent paper and will be an excellent paper for the next half an hour. So people with question, please stand behind the mic. And as we know, it's one question per person. Let's be sharp, short, and clear. Thank you.
Ashok Khode from Mumbai.
Yeah. The mic is not working. Okay.
Sanjay, is God matter?
Yes.
And matter, when we go to the quantum level, is constantly movement, isn't it?
Yes.
But God is the non-moving mover.
God is everywhere.
Because if it was moving, it wouldn't be changeless.
No, let's not play with words here. God is present everywhere. He is present in matter, he is present in non-matter. Now, depending on your ability to perceive, you may be able to perceive a matter with proper instruments and go deep down and see at the subatomic level the energy is flowing there. So it is a matter of perception. What instrument are you using to see that?
I am not playing with words. It was a genuine difficulty. You
Okay.
said God is present as energy and is omnipresent in his creation.
Yes.
But creation is ever changing.
Yes.
My point is God is changeless.
Okay. You see, again,
Totality, he is changeless. In totality, God is changeless. But inside the totality, he is ever changing.
Okay.
let me add to that. It depends on the frame of reference which you use. Einstein, that is why came up with the law of relativity. Truth depends on what frame are you looking at what in which frame, right? So you are right when you say that, and he's also right when he says that. But since we have a technical paper which talks of God as an all-pervading energy, we would like to look at from that window.
So you touched so beautifully on Purnata.
Yeah.
If you had clarified on Shunyata also, this question would not have come.
That is the second question, I believe, but if they allow, I will answer you.
It's not a question.
It's a statement, so that's okay.
No, I can answer him. You see, when you go into Om, Om is nothingness. And it says Om is infinite. That means nothingness is infinite. That is something which you need to perceive. And anything in between, the Om and the infinity is physical, has form, has energy. But these two extremes, you can probably never reach them. Because as I said, in science they say there is no absolute vacuum. You cannot have zero, right? You can always tend towards zero. But depending on what you're measuring, if you're measuring notes, then yes, zero is a number. But if you're going into subjectivity and looking at it through instruments, then you will find limitations there. Hope I'm able to clear your mind. Okay,
Sanjay, interesting paper.
thank you.
I have a question on the geometry teacher within you.
Okay,
So basically the creation is represented as a point on the graph paper, correct? And the formless also has been explained as a point on the graph paper, correct?
Okay, okay.
Because the creation is there and potential energy. My simple question is, what does the graph paper represent? Because the formless and the form, everything is on the graph paper as a point. So what is the graph paper?
I will answer you. But before answering, I would like to share something which I had told Presh probably 2-3 years back. I told him, finite is infinite. So when you write in and finite, they are two separate words. But you bring them together, it becomes infinite. So when you bring them together, it becomes infinite. So you have a finite body, but you have infinite potential within. Okay? So similarly for that graph paper has been used as an aid to help you conceptualize, or else you will not be able to conceptualize what is nothingness.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah.
You are 100% right.
If I am 100% right, where is the question? There is no scope for a question.
Now question follows.
Okay. So doubt has come in.
See, you say that energy is God. And I have been trained by several spiritual masters. That's also truth. And energy is definitely God. But only one clarification. Some of the spiritual masters say, may or may not be. Example, Adi Shankaracharya. In his books, 87 books he has written. Somewhere he has, and he's a great master. And he also says, may or may not be. Can you able to give definite answer for this?
I cannot answer you for what somebody else has been thinking. I can answer you what I have thought and not this paper.
You are fit for Nobel Prize, sir. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Sanjay, a brilliant paper. Sanjay, I was
Thank
just
you.
dwelling on this concept of energy.
Okay.
So, energy can be manifested or bought by silence. When you're in silence, you can generate immense amount of energy.
Very good question.
And Dr. Ananya, when he makes us all do the state change, there's again a tremendous amount of energy.
Yes, yes.
So, between these two,
Yeah.
which one would be more potent?
You see, I had asked Mayur a question, how can you differentiate between God's creation, right? So the same thing applies to you. Both of them are realities. Depending on where you are standing, you might like one reality. Somebody might like the other reality. But both realities exist, right? And they have a relevance. If this guy would come here and be silent and all of us would expect to get in an excited mode, it's not going to happen, right? So everything is true. He has a dharma to follow, and you have a dharma to follow. You know, in Mahabharata, Krishna tells Arjun, kill them. And here we spoke about love, unconditional love, faith, you know, all that, which has relevance here, but not in that battlefield.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations on your paper.
Thank you.
And so, as far as my understanding of your paper is that you say that God doesn't have any physical form.
Doesn't have?
Doesn't have any physical form.
Okay.
He's formless. He doesn't have the physical
I
length.
said he has form, he has formless, and how both of them connect. They connect in the third
They
example.
do not have the length, breadth, and height
Yes.
as per a physical form.
Yes.
And somewhere you connect that as being just a point.
Okay. You ask your question, I'll answer.
So my point is that if God is a consuming factor of energy, are you saying that God is actually a black hole?
Okay. You see, each and every iota of this existence represents the infinite. Each and every point represents the infinite. Now you see, to a Hindu in an idol, we see the ultimate form of God, which a Muslim will not. But it does not mean his God is any less than my God. So these are concepts and tools that people use to reach the ultimate. That's all.
No, my point being is that if you're considering God to be a single point, that could be an infinite immeasurable point of energy, then where is the existence of God if he is formless? There is no existence. He cannot be a point, he cannot exist, he cannot be formless or cannot even have a form.
I will answer you. You see, the first 2-3 lines of my paper define God. What do I mean by God? When I say God is all pervading, what God am I talking about? So I'm talking about a God. I'll just read it out, the first 2-3 sentences. Introduction. Who is God? The creator who has created this creation, which is perceived by all of us in one way or the other, is God. Right? So you might have a different way of perception, I might have a different way of perception. When I go to meditate, for me, God is formless, and I experience tremendous energy to what Arunagari was talking about, right? And when I am here, I'm experiencing energy, tremendously excited inside. So it all depends on how are you perceiving that. God exists. And if you look at this paper, this has 3 divisions. The first division is purely on a scientific ground. The second division only talks about the spiritual ground. Om. Nanak is just talking about Om. In that section, you will find nothing of science written there which is trying to prove otherwise. But when you come to the third point, where we have the Purnam Mantra is talking of Om, Big Bang is talking about creation of the physical universe, which we are able to perceive, okay, with our own limitations. Different people perceive it differently. So there it is trying to bring a common ground. From the formless to the infinite formed, God is one. Have you been able to answer your question?
No, but I'll get back to you sometime later.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Hello. See, Indians have given 0 to the world.
Yes.
But I agree with you when you say there is nothing like 0, only tending to 0.
Yes.
So that is why Indians have caused maximum problem to the world by giving 0, I think.
Was that a question or a statement?
Was that
I want you to agree whether that is correct. Indians have
I am in
caused-
agreement with whatever all these people say. Because
Thank you.
God has infinite forms.
Yeah, so 0 itself has no meaning, only tending to 0 has a meaning.
You are entirely entitled to your opinion. Welcome.
Sanjay, I have a basic question. What I want to understand is, you have argued fairly well that God is all-pervading energy. Okay. Now my question is, I'm trying to understand the relevance of this topic to me as an individual, for my growth, for myself. So how does it relate to me and my existence?
Very
God
good
is
question.
all-pervading energy. So how is it? So what? So
Very
what?
good, very good question. I'm happy you asked this question. You see, when I say God is infinite and God is all-pervading, that means at this point of time, it is totally in each and every cell, atom, electron, proton of your body. It is there in your consciousness, right? Because even that is part of him. Now, in your consciousness, if you run the affirmation or you convince yourself that you're part of him and he's infinite, and if you keep on doing it, you will find your power increasing. You will start what people are talking about, maximization. We are not here to maximize. At least I am not here to maximize. I am here to understand who is God and become one with Him. That is the purpose of my life. And in the bargain, I would like to enjoy everything this life has to offer. As simple as that.
I like your answer because I think you partly answered me, but if we go a little deeper, I am, for me to understand myself, the knowledge that God is all pervading energy, is that enough? I mean, I have to do something else, right? I do meditation, I do prayer. To me, those are practical ways of realizing my oneness rather than a knowledge. I mean, this is what I feel. I'm not saying what you said here is wrong. I'm not arguing on that. But for my growth, I think other ways are more important. Would you say?
I will share my philosophy here.
Okay.
How much time do I have?
Sir, I think this would be the last question.
Okay.
You got a short question after that?
Okay.
So if you can finish quickly.
Just listen to him.
Is that we always say God is, rest is not. That shows the completeness of God and sunyata also. Purnata and sunyata merges there.
Yeah, Paresh, if I could add on. You see, when you are into a meditative state and you are actually experiencing nothingness, let me tell you, that is the time you are in touch with the power which created the universe. It is there, you're becoming aware. As you become aware, as you spend more and more time, the yoga takes place. You bang into it, you become it. And then you become free from knowledge of others. You see what happens normally in life is, we are surrounded by people, we listen to gurus, we do a lot of things. A word can have a dictionary meaning, which common people use. A word can be a knowledgeable exposition on that. Just yesterday I heard somebody spoke about belief and faith. Now those are strict interpretations. That is knowledge. Knowledge of that individual who is expounding it. But it is not my knowledge. It is his knowledge based on his experiences, right? So there's a third word, third way which should be adopted. Make your own meaning. Get the earth of it. What Apre says is this is his gyan. It has worked well for his life. But there's no guarantee it's going to work for my life. It might give me direction.
Yeah.
Right? But I will reach the end goal, there is no guarantee. So you need many gurus, many masters, many teachers on the path, listen to their interpretation of knowledge, apply it, meditate on that, think, spend time, practice it out, and then you'll come to your real core meaning. What I have written here is not a cut paste. It is absolutely something which flowed through me. It has been written in 2 sittings. And total paper, I did not think. Some of the concepts I wonder how it came here. I told my wife. She said, "Hey, paper to milt mein milega hi nahi kuch tumko. Tum kya likha hai?" People have a terminology which they use for milt TPs. And bang, it became one of the first papers to be announced, right? So have your own meaning of life. Then wonders will happen.
Can you please make this short in terms of time?
Sanjay, you have talked about God from the framework of space-time,
Yeah.
energy as in space-time. But by its very definition, God has to be something beyond space-time.
Yes.
As an absolute, and that's what Purnamida and Purnamada points to.
Yes.
So your comment, you have restricted this whole thing into a space-time framework. But obviously, matter emerging from somewhere we don't know, from the quantum fields, all the time particles, subatomic particles are coming into this universe. And so God being restricted to just an all-pervading energy somehow seems to be too restrictive.
Yes.
Your comments.
Yes, you are right. You know, when you go to a nursery school, you teach a boy A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. And then as he goes up, you teach him sentences, paragraphs, he's able to write essays. So this is a very deep subject. I'm sure many of you would have had difficulty in trying to comprehend what I have written. So this is a nursery class. And yes, this talks about science at the school level. But you have quantum physics, string theory of reality started with 7 dimensions, now they are playing around 13 dimensions. But let me tell you my belief system. I believe whatever you believe in and keep on believing in will happen as reality for you, because we create our reality, because that God element is very much in us. Now it is up to us what we choose and make of that opportunity.
Okay, with a round applause. Okay, let's send the star TP writer and the dignitaries back to the audience. Thank you.